and we're going to create a digital extraction and a pontic and prepare this pontic. I don't know if you noticed. So this is our patient. This is a recent case, and I'm excited to share this with you. So this patient came to my clinic for well aware of the resorption on number 9, but also realizing that in treating this tooth, she also wanted to improve her smile. So there's a big treatment here. We reviewed plans, we did our designs, and basically determined that to get the goal to improve her smile, we'd be doing 10 restorations, one of them being an implant and the rest being partial coverage, ceramic restorations or veneers. And so it all starts with this pivotal moment where she needs to have number 9 addressed. And she has one major limitation, which is she understands that removable options might be necessary when she is going to have number 9 extracted. But she also is a musician and doesn't want to go without a fixed solution for a long period throughout the transitional period. So we're going to keep that in mind in our planning. And let's go ahead and take a closer look. So we have this resorption, and of course the tooth is unrestorable. We have this evaluated with CBCT, referred to perio, and just pretty obviously understandable that restoring this tooth is not an option. So after consultation with both the periodontist and myself, we are preparing for what's the first thing she's going to get. And generally the most predictable and smoothest is for me to deliver a Essex with a composite tooth in there. And more recently, skipping the composite tooth but doing a 3D printed pontic has been something I've really enjoyed. And oftentimes I can convert that into a Maryland bridge, and now making Maryland bridges is even easier than ever. So it all starts with performing a digital extraction on the primary scan or the initial scan when the patient came for consultation or record collection. So we're going to go through that step by step. So we're going to basically take our intraoral scan and we're going to create a digital extraction and a pontic and prepare this pontic. I don't know if you notice here, but we're going to put a retentive groove right into the pontic design, and we're going to prepare the Essex tray and give it to the periodontist so that it's ready for delivery on the day of extraction. So Medit Design is one of these apps that is very powerful, but I think it's a little overwhelming for some people when you're first getting started, but you just have to give it a few minutes and give it a try. One of the nice things about Medit, which I really love, is you're not limited to using this software in the office. If you have a laptop, you can play with things at home. You can access these scans from anywhere. So it really produces a really prime environment for you to experiment and play with things in, a comfortable environment and not feel like you're stuck at the office or wasting valuable clinic time. So when you're wanting to learn these things, I suggest you try to do it on your laptop at home, whether it's a Mac or a PC. You have all these different ways that you can get well experienced with this. So first step is going to be you take your scan of the patient and we're going to open Medit Design. Okay, so we basically push the Medit Design logo. I'm just going to load the maxilla and the mandible. It's tempting to just load the maxilla, but it's nice to see the occlusion just in case, because we're going to be wanting to evaluate that and sometimes get a modified pontic design if occlusion is limited. So that's the easy part. We've opened up Medit Design. Now, the first step I want to do is I want to preserve the maxilla and mandible layers. So anything I'm going to edit, you'll notice throughout these demonstrations, I'm going to be duplicating things. So very easily, you right click on the layer and you duplicate, and now you have your duplicated maxilla base. And that's what I'm going to be using from the next steps. That way I always have the reference of the original maxilla and I can go back to it. And in general, if you mess up something, you can delete one of these layers and go back to your original again. So it's always nice, when in doubt, make a duplicate. And you'll see throughout these demonstrations that you can also rename any of these layers. And I do that from time to time so that I don't get confused with the naming. Okay, so now we want to select tooth number 9. Our whole workflow here is to create a digital extraction model and a pontic. So I need to clone number 9 that I'm going to use for my pontic. So what we're going to do is head over here to the edit mode. And then from there at the bottom, there's this icon that is for duplication right here. We want to click on that. Then you want to select. I like the smart single tooth selection. It makes it really easy. And then from there, I like to, if it doesn't select the whole tooth, you can just press this expand selected area option to expand it, or you could use the brush tools and kind of get the area. And then you just press apply. And what's happened now is we have another layer. I'm going to go ahead and rename this to number 9 clone or number 9 duplicate, whatever you want. And so if we get rid of the maxilla base that we duplicated, you can see we have our cloned tooth number 9. Moving on to the 4th step. So we have that clone number 9, but our maxilla base still has the tooth present. So I'm going to take that maxilla base and I want to digitally extract tooth number 9. Okay, so we're going to come in here. We're still in the edit mode. This time I'm not duplicating. I'm selecting this area. I'm expanding it again. You can use the brushes to be very precise in your selection. So here I'm going to take a little bit of that like tissue that has kind of gone into the cervical area from the resorption process. And so this is an estimate, but I'm going to press delete here and remove that tooth. One of the cool things is, so now this is the first step here. Now, as we do this process, keep in mind in the future, this is probably going to be one of the features built into Medit Clinic CAD to do a digital extraction, but it's good to know how to do this the basic way. So we have our extracted area, but we need to close that hole. This is especially important because I want to make an Essex tray with this. So when I make my pontic, I need to have some sort of model to position the tooth. So I want to be able to make sure things fit, and I need to have the digital extracted model for 3D printing. So now we need to close this hole. And what we're basically going to do is close this using, again, still in edit mode, something called the bridge tool. So I'm doing some bridges here, basically kind of connecting one part to another. And that because the hole is too big to just close on its own. Now I'm going to try to fill the hole. Okay, filled the hole. Sometimes you have a little bit of an error or a problem. So what you can do is just delete that area, select, delete. Now you can go back and bridge again and close that. And sometimes after that, you still have a little area. So you can go do it again and close it. So eventually you'll be able to get a nice extracted area, and I can toggle the number 9 clone in there. You'll also notice I duplicated my number 9 clone up in the layers panel, but I like to have extra whenever possible in case I mess up. So now I'm smoothing the ridge. So I'm using the sculpting tools and the remove and the smooth tools to kind of shape this, periodically turning on my number 9 clone. There's other ways you can do this by cutting the intersection as well, but I find it's just smoother, and it doesn't have to be that precise because this is going to go into an Essex tray. I prefer to err on the side of the pontic being a little bit smaller. So if there's no contact, that's not a big issue because it's going to be within an Essex tray and it won't be obvious. And that means it's going to be more passive when you're inserting it in.